All right, everyone. This is our last week of PE in this digital learning school year. I hope you had a really good time doing our mindful stretching unit. This is something that I've always wanted to squeeze in, and we haven't had time in the regular school year. I do want to let those of you who are at my regular sites know some important information. Next school year, I will actually be going back to school myself to study in a sabbatical, and I will be coming back the following year. So you might see me for some drop-by visits because I miss all of you so much. So I really hope to see you as soon as we get back to school. But in the meantime, I hope you have a great summer. Stay safe and enjoy one last yoga sequence with me. Our first pose is gorilla. For the gorilla, you're going to start in a squat. So you're going to squat down with your knees open and your hands on the ground. Next, you're going to come up a bit and rest your elbows on your thighs, like you're talking to someone who's shorter than you. No, Number 3, I'm going to straighten my legs, but I'm going to leave the top part of my body, called my torso, hanging down towards the ground, and swing my arms gently from the right to the left, right to the left. Now go ahead and have fun acting like a gorilla. Be silly and make a gorilla sound even if you want to. And just swing your arms back and forth, back and forth. Your knees are slightly bent. Okay. Now we're going to transform our gorilla into a mountain. So from gorilla pose, you're bent over halfway. Don't stand up yet. I want you to breathe in through your nose, and as you breathe in through your nose, I want you to slowly roll yourself up to a standing position as you rise from the earth. Stand tall now that you're standing up with your feet parallel or facing the same direction, and your chest lifted. Second step for mountain pose. Think about your strong stability. Flex your toes, meaning try to hold your toes, the ground with your toes, and engage your leg muscles. So without moving your feet, I want you to try and grip the mat or space where you're standing. Look down and notice, do your leg muscles start to flex and engage too? Third step for mountain pose. You want to press your palms together at your chest and open up your chest so that you become tall and wide. Now, you have two choices for step 4. You can either lower your hands to the side of your body, or you can raise them towards the sky. I always like to raise mine towards the sky, but the picture here shows the person with their arms by their side. Go ahead and think about a majestic mountain. And think about how you are trying to capture the energy of that mountain in your pose. Mountains go high into the sky above us and deep into the earth below. Can you be grounded and light at the same time? Try and focus on that thought for just a second while you breathe. From mountain, you're going to keep your feet planted in the ground, and you're going to slowly roll yourself back down to gorilla pose. So you're bending at your waist or your hips, and your arms are swinging in front of you, just like we just practiced. After a couple swings back and forth, I want you to firmly put your hands on the ground. Now go ahead and bring your knees down too, so that you're standing in a tabletop position with your knees and your hands on the ground. This next pose is plank pose. We've done it a number of times together, and it requires you to be strong in your core, or the center of your body. Go ahead and shift your hands and body forward just slightly, lifting your chest and eyes. Your knees are still on the ground. Make your body into a straight line by stepping one foot back and then the other. Your toes are pointing down towards the ground. Your bottom is in a straight line If you were to draw a straight line from your shoulders to your feet, your bottom would be right in the middle. Now I know this pose can be tricky, so as you start to wobble, I want you to breathe in through your nose and out through your nose, trying to breathe through those wiggles or wobbles that you might be feeling. And listen to my words. Planks are very useful things. They help make strong objects. I want you to name in your head some of the many things made out of planks or wood. All right, go ahead and release yourself gently. Don't let yourself just flop down to the floor. So you're laying on your tummy now. Go ahead and wiggle your bottom from side to side. Move your hips from side to side so you don't hurt your back after such a strenuous pose. Our next pose is going to be cobra or snake pose. We're going to stay laying on our tummies. And I want you to go ahead and lie on your belly with your head on your hands. So you're going to bring your hands up towards your face and put them under your forehead. Now, you're going to put your hands under your shoulders with your fingertips pointing forward. Step 3 is you're going to rise up and arch your back. You're going to lengthen your back legs and press into your hands to arch your back upwards. Now, step 4, the last one, I want you to think of yourself as a cobra. Go ahead and make a snake hissing sound now. You want to lift and open your chest until your arms are almost straight. If you can here, see if you can engage the muscles in your legs to the point where the tops of your legs and the tops of your shins are not touching the ground. Squeeze your belly button and use your core muscles that we just practiced in plank position to try and help your legs hold the weight of your body. If your legs don't come off the ground, that's okay too. Just focus on raising your chest up with your elbows bent like a snake. All right, time to move on. Don't come out of your snake pose. Stay in your snake pose, but now I want you to think about your feet. We're going to come back, lower ourselves back down to the ground on our tummies, and we're going to bend our knees to tuck them under our body. Our toes are pointed so the tops of our feet are pressed down into the mat. Your arms are out long in front of you. I think of this stretch as the stretch of my kitty cat Bigotes. He always does this stretch when he first wakes up. His legs tucked under him, his arms out long. Now I want you to take yourself and turn yourself from a kitty cat into a dog. You're going to come up on all 4 knees and hands. And I want you to take your toes and untuck them. They have been pointing straight behind you. Now I want you to tuck your toes so that they face down towards the ground. And when you're ready, curl your toes under and bring your hips up and back. Now you're in an upside down V or a mountain or a downward dog or a mountain pose, it seems like. Want you to open your legs a little bit so you can look in between them behind you. Awesome. What you're going to do next is from the downward dog position, you're going to slowly walk your hands forward. Slowly walk your feet forward towards your hands. Once your feet come towards your hands, you'll notice that it leads you right back into gorilla pose. So, before we move on to what's called our flow, let's go ahead and review. Our first pose, say it with me as I go through them and the cards flash on the screen. Our first pose is gorilla. From gorillas, we turn into a mountain. Then we go back to gorilla before becoming a plank. After plank, we lower our bodies towards the ground and we lift up our chest to become a cobra. Then we go ahead and we turn ourselves into a downward facing dog. How did that go for you? We have just done our 5 poses that we're going to be making our pattern of today. What we'll do now is we're going to move a little bit faster, but if you get lost, don't worry. Remember that we're going in the same order. So if you get lost somewhere in the middle, just take a second, put your forehead down on your mat with your knees tucked under you, and rest and breathe and listen for when you hear me give the cues and directions for gorilla pose. Gorilla pose is always going to be our first pose, and interestingly enough, it'll also help you remember because of the giant gorilla drawing on the wall behind me. So gorilla is your cue that we are restarting, but we will be moving faster this time. Make sure that at no point does your body get out of control or too excited. If it does, take a deep breath, calm it down. Because remember, the point of mindful stretching is to have our bodies and our brains work together so that neither one gets hurt and that the shapes we make feel really good for ourselves. All right, here we go. We're going to start with our feet shoulder width distance apart and squat down with our knees open and our hands on the ground. I want you to slowly rise, letting your hands fall in front of you, swinging them from side to side like the gorilla. We're going to breathe in through our nose, and as we breathe in, we're slowly going to rise up and turn into mountains. Remember, in mountain pose, your feet are together. Your hands come together too, pressing your palms together in front of your heart. Go ahead and picture yourself as a strong but calm mountain. Now I want you to breathe out and bend forward at your hips, swinging your arms from side to side again, turning yourself back into a gorilla. Now put your hands down on the floor and step both of your feet back. Remember, you want your bottom to be in a straight line between your shoulders and your heels of your feet. So if your hips are high in the air, try and bring them down. And if your hips are low to the ground with your back arching, make sure you squeeze your belly button to engage your core and turn yourself into a strong plank. Go ahead and breathe out and lower yourself slowly for a count of 3, 2, and 1 till your tummy is resting on the ground. Now point your toes behind you. Put your hands underneath your shoulders. And as you breathe in, arch your chest forward, bringing your head and shoulders up. And if you can, use your legs and your core to engage. And you want the tops of your legs and thighs to come off the ground too, for snake or cobra pose. Last but not least, tuck your toes under. Make sure your hands are firmly in the ground and raise your hips to the sky for your downward dog. We did it. You just went through 5 different poses, and now we're going to repeat. Breathe in, walk your hands slowly forward, walk your feet slowly forward towards your hands. Now let your hands dangle from side to side like the gorilla. We're starting over in gorilla pose. If you were resting and joining us, now would be the time to join. Swing from side to side gently with your knees slightly bent. Breathe in and slowly roll your back and your shoulders up until you're facing forward in mountain pose. Bring your hands together over your heart and your feet together. As you breathe out, bend at your hips forward, letting yourself release towards the ground and turning back into a gorilla. From gorilla, I want you to place both of your hands under your shoulders and step your feet back towards the back of your mat. Make sure as you do this, you squeeze your belly button to engage your core and make your body into a straight plank. Breathe out for 3, lowering yourself down for 2, for 1, and let your tummy rest on the mat. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders, and as you breathe in this time through your nose, I want you to rise up with your chest and your head, using your leg muscles to tighten themselves and come off the ground, pushing onto the tops of your feet. Your feet are pointed behind you for Cobra. From Cobra, I want you to untuck your toes, so point your toes back towards the mat. Send your hips towards the sky so you're making an upside down V, and look back through your legs for Downward Dog. Breathe in through your nose, and as you breathe in, go ahead and walk your feet forward on your mat towards your hands, and we'll meet back together in Gorilla. Again, if you got lost because I was moving a little fast for you, that's okay. Join us now from your resting pose together in Gorilla. Your feet are shoulder width apart with your knees slightly bent. Your arms are swinging from side to side. Here we go. We're going to do one last round. From Gorilla, breathe in through your nose and slowly roll yourself up to a standing position. Bring your feet together and your hands together, palms touching over your heart. Try and shine your chest forward, rolling your shoulders down and back in mountain pose. From mountain pose, I want you to slowly breathe out your nose and bend forward at your hips, letting your arms fall towards the ground and returning to gorilla pose. Now from gorilla, we're not going to stay here too long. Put your hands down on the mat underneath your shoulders and step 1 foot at a time back towards the back of your mat with your toes tucked down to make a plank. Remember, squeeze your belly button and use your leg muscles to make sure that your back isn't sagging towards the ground or your bottom isn't super high in the air. You want your body to be in one straight line. Hold it for just a second longer and breathe out slowly as you lower your body down towards the mat for 3, 2, 1, and go ahead and release yourself to your mat laying on your tummy. Bring your hands underneath your hips. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Let's try that again. Untuck your toes so that they're pointing backwards towards the wall behind you. And breathe in through your nose, lifting up your chest, bringing your gaze of your eyes forward, and trying to use your legs and tummy muscles to engage your legs enough to get the tops of them off of the floor if you can. Remember, if you can't, it's okay. Just leave them resting on the floor, making sure you still bring your chest up. From here, tuck your back toes so they face down towards the ground. Keep your hands where they are and bring your hips up to the sky so you're making that upside down V. Look backwards between your legs and you're in Downward Dog. Were you able to keep up? I'll bet you were. We just did what was called a sequence or a flow. Great job. Great job this week. We've only got a couple more sessions left together, and we'll continue working on our flows in a similar way that we practiced today. I hope you're all staying safe, washing your hands lots, keeping your face covered when you go out in public, and know that I miss you all, so have a great week. See you next time.